True crime is a genre that has grown rapidly over the last decade and taken over the podcasting space with documentaries, full docu-series, and loads of anthology series that all seem to be growing. So, how do you know what to watch to satiate your need for the darkly disturbing world of actually committed criminal offenses? Today, on Graveyard Shift Ranked, we're counting down the top true crime documentaries. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to Graveyard Shift and comment below to let us know what terrifying topic we should cover next. Nightmares are a hell of a thing. They can be so intense they drive people to do crazy things. Insane things like sentencing someone to 40 years in prison for something a witness saw them do in a dream. That's exactly what happened to Ryan Ferguson. He was convicted based on a murder he committed in a dream, not an actual murder. Someone dreaming about him committing a murder. Think that sounds too far-fetched to be a movie? Well, this actually happened in real life. Bill Ferguson spent the next 10 years obsessed by the purported crimes that his son committed in a dream. The film Dream Killer follows this father's dogged pursuit of justice against a horrible outcome that seems too surreal to be true. Every once in a while, there's an epic film that changes the way we perceive the medium. Making a Murderer helped change the documentary genre. Unfortunately, for the filmmakers and the audience alike, this process takes a long time. The series took over a decade to produce, and the attention to detail shows. The docu-series took the documentary world and Netflix by storm. The series is not only one of the high watermarks of the docu-series renaissance that is currently happening, but also a deeply human narrative. The docu-series tells the story of Stephen Avery and his nephew, Brendan Dacy. They were both convicted of murdering a woman named Teresa Halbach. Both men went to prison for extended sentences. On the surface, that might seem like a mundane story. However, it's anything but. The documentary uncovered new and exciting information about the cases that essentially proves that Dacy is in fact innocent. This revelation caused a mass uproar with people from every walk of life. It's a gripping series that showcases not only the depths of human depravity, but the possibilities of the human condition. Ken Burns is one of, if not the most, famous documentary filmmakers currently alive. He's made films about the Civil War, baseball, and the Vietnam War, among many others. He's got an entire visual aesthetic that's commonly accepted as the Ken Burns mode of storytelling. It even comes as a preset mode in iMovie. Burns won a Peabody Award for the next entry on this list, the Central Park 5. The documentary follows 5 Black and Latino teenagers who were convicted in 1989 of the brutal assault of a white investment banker named Trisha Meili. The doc takes a hard look at structural racism, the NYPD, biased media coverage, and the subsequent 2002 vacation of their sentences. It's a film that's not for the faint of heart. It's a sobering look at what America thinks it is and how it actually functions. It pulls these conversations out into the cold light of day and fully attempts to unpack them. We are who we are in public and who we are in private. Despite what it might seem like, we all tend to shadow self, a dark, possibly perverted version of us. However, in the case of Diane Schuler, it seems as though she had some very large secrets in the darker corners of her soul.
Hi, I'm at the Taconic Expressway. The car is going like 70 miles an hour in the wrong direction. I had an accident. Route 117.
Is there any injuries?
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of kids.
While driving home one evening, she turned the wrong way on the Taconic State Parkway in New York. She eventually caused an accident killing her daughter, 3 nieces, and herself. Only her 5-year-old son survived the accident. She was discovered to have a blood alcohol level of 0.19, which is approximately double the legal limit. Which is odd because she was supposedly a completely sober person in her everyday life. A documentary film crew offered to investigate and attempt to uncover the realities of the situation. This documentary is the ensuing breadcrumb trail that happened. Marjorie Deal Armstrong lived what seemed like a normal life, until she very much didn't. She was the mastermind behind what is considered one of the most bizarre bank heists in United States history. The The central crime at the heart of the docu-series follows Diehl Armstrong as she straps a bomb to a man named Brian Wells and forced him to rob a bank in Erie, Pennsylvania. The focus of the docu-series is how Diehl Armstrong manipulated multiple ex-boyfriends, her husband, and other individuals into embarking on a plan that can only be described as chaotic and diabolical. We think we know our neighbors, our friends, even our loved ones, but there's always the possibility that we just know a version of them, and that in the dead of night, something much more sinister is lurking. If you are a true crime aficionado, you wanted to see The Keepers on this list. The project centers around the unsolved murder of Sister Kathy Sesnick of Baltimore, Maryland, and chronicles the sexual abuses carried out at Archbishop Keough High School. But that's where things just start. The mystery leads straight to the heart of the Archdiocese of Baltimore and a sex abuse scandal that they covered up for years. The central acclaim and mass discussion that the docu-series spawned has continued to this day. Many documentaries have a window in which they can affect change. The Keepers defies that truism. It's been something that is brought up repeatedly in the years since its release. The Keepers was greeted with both acclaim and public discourse surrounding many of the topics it covers. What do alien conspiracy theories, blackmail, and a trusted next-door neighbor have in common? They're all at the center of Abducted in Plain Sight, the documentary about the kidnapping of Jan Broberg. Taking place in 1974, the 12-year-old Jan Broberg went missing overnight. The unthinkable had happened in this sleepy church-going community in Idaho. Every parent's ultimate nightmare had come true, and the perpetrator was one of the family's closest friends. The story is one of twists, turns, betrayals, and a crime so unforgivable it can never be washed away. Abducted in Plain Sight is truly a story so strange and otherworldly that it has to be seen to be believed. Currently streaming on Netflix, the Skye Borman film is a harrowing deep dive into the world of a secretive psychopath's inner mind. The narrative sheds light not only on the character motivations at play behind such a despicable act, but also the naivety of the families that allowed this wolf in sheep's clothing dangerously close to their children. Arguably the most unforgettable true crime piece of media to come out in the last 10 years, The Jinx tells the story of Robert Durst, who is an unreliable narrator, to say the least. Durst was accused of murdering his wife, a close friend, and a neighbor, and ends up doing something so jaw-dropping in the docuseries that it becomes the stuff of legend. The series is chilling, fascinating, and gets to the core of what makes humanity so terrifying. The show gives the audience the thrill of both witnessing the horrible crimes and witnessing a potential serial killer reveal a horrible secret about himself. This next entry on the list isn't just one film, it's 3. These 3 films tell the story of a small Arkansas community and how 3 of its residents, Jason Baldwin, Damian Eccles, and Jesse Miskelly, were accused of murder. These 3 boys were known as the West Memphis 3 and were convicted of the crimes. Because Eccles enjoyed Metallica, like Stephen King novels, and practiced Wicca, the fact that law enforcement got Miskelly to issue a false confession doesn't exactly help the matter. The trilogy of films ended up garnering support from a wide swath of the population. Even celebrities started to be galvanized behind the story. Henry Rollins, Tom Waits, Iggy Pop, and Ozzy Osbourne came out publicly and campaigned for the boys to be released. Filmmaker Kurt Cohen had an unenviable task ahead of him when he set out to create a documentary about his dear friend Andrew Bagby, who was murdered. Cohen wanted to make this documentary as a means of immortalizing his friend for his newly born son, Zachary. The film follows the horrifically depressing story of Shirley Jane Turner, Andrew's former girlfriend, who allegedly killed him. During this heinous crime, she was also pregnant with Andrew's future son. To make an already awful circumstance even worse, after the horrific crime, she fled to Canada where she gave birth to Andrew's son. He was then taken away from her and raised by Andrew's parents. However, through loopholes in the American and Canadian system, she was able to maintain shared custody of the boy. The fact that she was obviously mentally disturbed and more than likely a murderer was not taken into account when the courts heard their cases. Without spoiling the ending of this bone-chilling documentary, let's just say it has to be seen to be believed. So, which of these documentaries are your favorite? Let us know in the comments below and subscribe to The Graveyard Shift. Check back next time if you're brave enough to find out what otherworldly events we'll chronicle next.